So now I teach at Kellogg. I run an innovation consulting firm, help out at the Chicago Innovation Awards, do a few writings. And in my early 30s, I started a flower business called Blossoms Anytime. Did you ever go there, Howard? Blossoms Anytime? I also tried to open up a nightclub called Tommy K's. Did you ever go there? Did you go there?
Bearing the burden of all these.
Susan and I tried to open a private school called the Oxford School, and then I did start a little business called the Brown Bag Lunch in the Loop. Now, back in those days, one would have said that those were failures, but not anymore, because I pivoted. I pivoted many different times, right? So share with us one of your pivots in your life.
I don't know. That's I don't think I pivot.
You've had a lot of pivots. Yes, you have.
I don't. We think that it's good to pivot. We don't like people who twirl. So we ask them to sort of move in a constructive direction. And I agree with you that we don't think of these as failures, but as education. As long as you fail forward, as long as you take something from the experience that you can use to build a foundation for a better solution going forward. So, but I always say in answer to that question that, as far as I know, the major mistakes that I've made in my career have related to haircuts.
To haircuts. Dianne?
So maybe my first pivot was in 1978. I was out of school. I had taught on the West Side. I was on the team that opened the city's first magnet school. I got tapped to run a resource center for teachers and parents. I mean, all of this was new, and the newer, the more interesting. And I sort of just burned out. The resource center later morphed into what grew with support from the Junior League to be the Children's Museum. But I was trying to decide, what next? Go to law school, go back to school, and get a special ed degree. When Lois Weisberg, who at the time was at a public interest law firm, said, you should come and work at this public interest law firm. I thought, wow, they're making a difference. They're involved in segregated housing, in fighting spying on lawful political activity. They're starting groups like Friends of the Park. I will learn so much. Well, there I was with this high-powered, talented group of lawyers. It was such a new world for me. But, I grew my skills. I took a writing class. I let people know what I didn't know. I worked really, really hard. And that was a big one.
Love it. Thanks. Judy?
You mentioned the Junior League, and I can remember the time when I was really banking on what they said, that you can take your volunteer skills and put them into a paying job. And I was at a point in my life when I was ready to take my volunteer skills. I'd been chairman of the board of Latin School and president of the Junior League and head of some other organizations, but really wanted a full-time paying job in the fundraising and programmatic field. And some of those first interviews were, slightly scary to me, but it proved to me that leadership skills that you develop as a volunteer, working with others, listening to others, helping others, are just what you need to start a new career. And I'm forever grateful to nonprofits and the training that they give, because all nonprofits these days, in order to survive, have to have a very strong training component.
Love it. Tawfik?
Yeah, if I count the pivots, like the number of the lost hair on my head, there are a lot of them, but the one really stands out with my senior high school year. I failed, and I had to repeat that year. And thinking like when you are 17, 18 years old, and you have to sit with the junior that you used to make fun of, now they're your classmates. That's actually the worst experience that you can ever have. And since actually I've kind of wake-up call and really changed my direction in terms of what I did in college after that. But what was really critical.
Thanks. Terry?
Do you insist? Because I just realized. I never thought about this before. I was going to say to you, well, I never pivoted. You know, my life was a straight line. But I realized when I pivoted. Every time I got divorced, I pivoted. I was so angry. You know, I have a rule, you know, you never take anything. You leave it all behind. So every time I was so inspired to go, and that was very highly motivating.
And life
I'm not getting married again. No.
And life is full of pivots, and
Life
they're
is
wonderful.
so full of pivots.